As we as we wait for people to come in, I will walk over what we have done the last couple days. So, let's see. All right. So yesterday we had our 4th of July little marathon of sketching. So we were going to try to aim to get 200,000 followers, but for some reason the algorithm just didn't like share my video with a lot of people. So, we ended up just going up to 180 something, 88 or something, 189. So, oh well. But we learned a lot. We went through a bunch of different things. We talked about how to develop your style. We talked about hands. We talked about animal anatomy. We talked about like how to draw hands and how to visualize things easy. We talked a little bit about how to draw mouths and eyes and ears and how to put them all together and how to draw in different views and how to change your facial expressions, how to start drawing from absolutely nothing and how to develop the knowledge that you need to develop into a better artist in general. Then we went and we drew mermaids and we were drawing mermaids for like a while. So I was telling you guys like the mermaids are easy because all you got to do is you got to find your hip bones and then add whatever width you want to your mermaid tail, right? So it just becomes a big cylinder. So mermaids in general are relatively easy to draw and they're absolutely awesome because they have such an easy flow to them. You don't have to worry about legs or anything, but it's just essentially the same thing as having two legs put together. Right? That is the same thing that you're doing when you're drawing a mermaid tail. So we went and did examples of that, showed you guys how to draw different body types for them, how to visualize it a little bit easier, how to add like things like bellies and I don't know, little ringlets and stuff like that. Then we talked about arms and how to foreshorten things. We talked about how to apply a basic concept of foreshortening by starting off with a sphere, adding two spheres, slowly combining them together, merging them, starting to elongate them, making one bigger than the other, and then using that plus your knowledge of anatomy to create things like limbs. So that helps you with foreshortening in general. And then I drew myself. And then we were doing like some weird like connection point exercises. I was teaching you guys where to connect the body. And then we went into arms and we were talking about arms. Let's zoom in there. So I was talking about arms and how you got to learn like where they pivot from so that you know how to move them better, right? You need to know where they rotate from in order to understand how your arms and your hands and everything like that moves. So in order to be able to understand that, we were talking about like how you can simplify your shapes and how the forearm kind of looks like a butt hugging your bicep. Right? The muscles that are going to be for your forearm kind of look like a butt hugging your bicep. And that is how they kind of wrap around your bicep. I know that's weird. It's like a weird way to see it, but that's the way that it works for me. Ta-da. Yeah, so these muscles right here, that's kind of how I see it. It looks like a lady's thong. And then the legs. I guess the arms would be right here. But that's how I see it, and that's how it makes sense to me. So you have to approach in general like terms like especially difficult ones that have like super complex shapes. Like the forearm in general is a very complex area because it goes from a cylinder to wider cylinders to a pointy spot. That's your elbow. And then that also coincides with a whole other set of squishy parts and muscles that come on this other side, and they wrap around and they intersect with another set of squishy parts, aka muscles. And you got to understand how all those go together to create that system that you have going on for you, right? So the easiest way to think about these things is to think about them as just big, basic, blocky blobs, right? But getting this ability to be able to see them and follow the little guidelines that I'm following to get the perspective that I need as I'm building my character up like a sculpture. Because I'm not drawing lines at this point, I'm drawing shapes. At this point, I'm not considering these as lines anymore. Like, to me, I'm more so sculpting than I am drawing. That's what it feels like, right? When I'm drawing, I'm building shapes that have volume. And on top of those shapes, I can add more shapes. And I can keep going like that as long as I understand how the structures work. So I can keep going and building things on top. And as long as I know where these elements are supposed to be and how they fit into perspective, I am able to keep taking them and pushing them in different directions very relatively easy. Your knowledge of anatomy combined with your knowledge of perspective is what's going to allow you to be able to move things and foreshorten them and be able to like push things and stylize them cooler, you know, all that, like clothing and things that wrap around your body and hoodies and stuff like that. All that stuff comes from observing life. You need to go out and observe life so you can actually understand how things work. If you don't go out and observe life, how are you supposed to expect to be able to draw fun, like awesome new things? You know, like living life is part of the job of being an artist. Like it really is. Like it sounds weird. It might sound like a cop out, like something somebody would say to just justify like, you know, slacking off and having fun. But no, being an artist means that you need that creativity and you need to be able to like experience things to get that creativity to going. Like it's not an endless flow of energy, right? It's not like an absolutely endless flow of energy that you're going to have. You need to feel that. You need to be able to go out there and experience fun things that inspire you so that you can in turn inspire others by creating the really cool things you do. So as you go about learning little tiny things like the placement of elements in your body, how your muscles connect, how to move things in space, all that is going to lead to you guys understanding your styles. You guys will eventually develop a style that you guys enjoy out of understanding what you're drawing, not out of trying to just draw something that looks cool, right? That is the trick, like to develop something based on your understanding, even if that's a simple happy face. Like if you draw happy faces and your happy faces are like this, that's your happy face. If you are drawing a happy face but it looks like that, that's your style of happy faces. You might not enjoy it or like it, but it's yours. Now, the more you understand how to add anatomy and things in space and details, you will go from just being able to do that to doing something a little bit more complex. Okay? And then little by little, you keep on adding details, and ability to draw shapes, more complex shapes in space, will lead you to be able to draw things like comic books and portraits and caricatures and all the cool things that, you know, that you see that you probably really want to get to. But it's a process, and it doesn't come just from like copying other people. It comes from understanding what you're drawing. So the more that you go and you progress, the more that you add to your knowledge and your studies, like the more you draw eyes, right? The more you draw eyes, the easier it is to draw eyes. But if you take this knowledge of drawing how to make cool eyes and apply that to the actual understanding of how the basic shape works, right? How does an eye actually work? It's two overlapping hemispheres creating an element of the eye. So now that I have this understanding of how the eye is shaped, now I can apply my style. So now it can be any style. It can be square. It could be angled. Like heavy eyelashes and stuff. Okay? It can be anything I want because now I understand that the eye is just hemispheres. And then now that I understand that, I can change those hemispheres to anything I want. Right? Now that I understand, now I can modify. So understanding should come first, stylizing should come after. And that is essentially just the basic dynamic of how things should be. Learn your foundations, like learn how to draw cylinders, spheres. And cylinders are literally just a circle, repeated over and over, and then connected. Right? That's what a cylinder is. So you can do that as an exercise. If you guys want to go take it the next step, you guys can mark one little point in each side of the cylinder. Match them up on both sides. And now you have both sides completely split perfectly down the middle. So do 3 at a time. Change the size of them. Trace them on the edges. And now you have cylinders. These could be noodles, these could be bodies, these could be arms, these could be anything you want. And essentially, it's just as simple as drawing a circle inside of a circle. And I'm going to repeat this over and over and over. If you understand this, if you manage to practice this and get to the point where you're confident in tracing this shape, you can draw absolutely anything. And I am very confident in that. Because being able to draw a circle inside of a circle gives you a lot of things, right? This gives you both sides of this shape. It gives you the far side and it gives you the near side. If you do it up and down, you have your top 2 sides. Now, if you do that going around your shape, you end up with something like that. One circle going this way is going to give you the front and back view, and then one going this way is going to give you your left and right. So now I have my left, my right, my front of my face, and some reason my face just comes easy by understanding those points. Right? I don't end up drawing a really big head in the back. I don't end up drawing a really small head in the front. No, because I already have my shape divided. So I draw my circle inside of my circle, and circle inside of my circle, and I take these 2 intersecting lines as the front part of my face. Where they intersect on the sides is where my ears would go. You can use this as a line for your eyes or for your eyebrows, and then just use this middle line to draw the mouth. Cool. Now use that simple exercise and do that in every single perspective. So master this before you go on to like drawing characters that have a lot of detail. If you're going in and doing all the detail in the world on characters, right, and you end up with like super weird proportions, and you don't know why it's going on, why it's happening. Why is my character looking weird? Well, it's because you're not taking the time to just map it out like this. Like, take the time to learn how to move a character in space in its most simple form before you go on to like jumping to step 25, trying to fight the final boss, but you don't even know how to rotate a simple sphere in space. Right? So if you can't rotate this in space with just drawing a circle inside of a circle, literally a circle inside of a circle, and then an intersecting circle inside of that circle. That, it could be an eyeball. That could be a lip. That could be a rib cage. That can be a hip bone. If it's just a circle, two circles connected is a hip bone. Literally, that is all the hip bone is. And then your legs come out of here. Right? So drawing these basic circles and circles like give you depth, teach you depth, teach you roundness, teach you the volume of your objects, right? If you just try to draw lines going, like if you're drawing your shapes like this, hold on. If you're drawing your heads, right, and you're just drawing them with straight lines like this, you can still draw cool things. Like, this is not going to stop you from drawing like a really cool understanding of something. I'm just telling you a way that if you do it differently, slightly different, and it's not harder, it's just a little bit different, right? Just tracing a circle inside of that circle gives you those little tiny rounded edges that we are always craving in our drawings. And the more that you learn how to subdivide it, the more accurate you can get with your detailing. Because every single subdivision is kind of like a map's grid. You can now add a little bit more detail within that grid, and you know it's not going to look wrong because it fits there. Okay? So by knowing how to subdivide an object, you not only are you giving it width, but you're actually just making it come into reality. Like, it's going to be based on real physical. It's going to look like it's there, right? It's not going to look like it's drawn. It's going to eventually start looking like it actually belongs in space, and that is something that you should aim for. Can you draw a crowded space? Yes, I can draw a crowded space really easy. Let me show you incredibly easy how. So if you want to draw a crowded space, draw something along the lines of like this. And then the next layer, do the same thing, but just alternate it slightly and a little bit more. And then fade them out into the distance. Okay? And then at the beginning, add yourself. And now it looks like a crowd of people at a concert or something. Yes. Right? Go Rod! And then we'll add some shadows to even enhance it a little bit more. We'll add like a spotlight. Two spotlights. And then all of a sudden we have a whole concert. So, ta-da! Is that good enough? What can you say about three-point perspective? Well, three-point perspective is hard. Like, I'm going to tell you that. Like, three-point perspective is not, like, it's not easy. Like, learning it is a little bit complex because you need to understand how objects in space work, right? But a lot of the times, it's easier to do a four-point perspective. And then whenever you draw an object, like you just, like, I hate doing these sort of perspective things, because the top two doesn't make sense why you have to round them out, but you have to round them out because that's just how the perspective thing shit works. And then from there you have to like connect them to like each individual point if you want to like generate things like buildings. And it's gonna be so you can do like fisheye view stuff, right? That is essentially what this is for. So you can have like a visual representation of what it's like to draw things in 3/4 view. So instead of doing it like this though, since it comes with a lot of like, for example, the curvature, I don't understand why you gotta curve it. But you have to curve it if you want to do the fisheye view. But in my opinion, there's no real like measurement way or like check system that I've known like to simply explain how to add those curves. So people are going to have them like a little bit off. So I like to do things a little bit different. So I like to learn by drawing, you guessed it, a sphere, right? A sphere is going to have 4 points. Now, if we understand how to draw a simple circle inside of a circle, we understand that this, as we get bigger, is going to get closer to the edge. The bigger the circle you draw inside, the more close to the edge you're going to get. So, like I said, if you start drawing a circle inside of a circle and it's skinny, it's going to be like that. The more you add girth to that circle inside, it's going to change the perspective that you're seeing. All right? So this is kind of like a profile almost. This is like a 3/4. This is almost like a front view, but like not quite. So as you can see, that is the way that I like to explain these rotational like points. And then whenever you want to actually go in and do some fun things, take this same shape you did, add your lines, and then add your middle line, and then whenever you are drawing shapes inside, connect them to the sides. Any line going up and down will take these rounded corners, and anything going left and right is going to go to the left and the right. So as you go and you progress and you draw more things, you follow those two guidelines and you end up with easier understanding of 4-point perspective, right? So that is essentially like the stepping stone that goes into this. If you want to learn how to do like fisheye lens type of like stuff, that is how you would go about it. And it's fun to do. It's just normally like the way that people explain it isn't really like comprehensive to people that can't visualize things in perspective yet, right? So understanding it like this first, seeing how like slicing the shape provides you with different things by just drawing a different circle inside of a circle, you can get a different type of interaction with your shape, right? So, and then you can flip it, like it doesn't have to be going that way. Like this could be just as easily be just this side that you're drawing by just drawing that same shape, but only outlining the other side. So it comes with a lot of visualization tricks that you guys can use. And these sort of exercises like this are the ones that lead you to be able to draw like really easily eyes. Can lead you to draw mouths really easy as well. It's the same thing. It's going to lead you to draw the jaw incredibly easy as well, because it just goes from one side to the other. So it's going to allow you to have a lot of freedom to be able to show, for example, let's say this guy is like a back view instead of a front view, right? It's the same concept. You're drawing through your shape. So it's easy to visualize that. What are you saying? Hold on. Mr. Man, but how would you pick the light source to take you drawing stand out in reference? I don't know what you guys are saying. I can do anatomical proportions, but how do you do the distorted faces like caricatures? Okay, so let me explain to you something. If you understand proportions and you understand the anatomy of it, why is it hard for you to distort them? So if you have a drawing of a person and you understand the concept of your nose bridge and your nose canal and your cheekbones and your eye sockets and your brow muscles and your ears, placement is everything. So understanding all these little elements that I'm pointing out is the first step of understanding how to exaggerate something. So in order to know how to exaggerate something, you need to kind of know at least where the placement of your anatomical features are. So you need to understand how your body works. It's not enough to just draw the actual features. You need to understand how and when they move, how they position themselves if you want to exaggerate them. Right? So a lot of the times, all it takes is changing one of these elements to make a person look like a caricature. So in this case, this character would be something along the lines of something, I don't know. Let's call it this guy. As you guys can see, I don't care if I don't draw the perfect shape at first. It's just a guideline. That initial sketch line that you're drawing, like all those little lines that you do, are just guides. They're not like a set in stone thing for any of your drawings. So get over the fact that maybe that initial line that you drew is not going to work. Like, it's fine. That's just how drawings work. Okay, so we have all our little anatomical areas. So we have our cheekbone, we have our eye socket with our eyebrow muscle going into our eyebrows. We probably should mark the fact that our eye is there, right? Our eye will be right there. And it has its eyelids, and that's why it looks like it's a little bit closed off. The eyelids are what's making it look like that. But we have a little bit of space right here for the upper eyelid. And we have our temples that start where our eyebrows end. And our eyebrows don't end at the edge of our face. Our eyebrows actually end. It kind of looks like this. Right? Normally. We have your eyebrows and then the side of your face. Because your forehead is round. It's not flat, it's round, and it comes up a little bit and it goes around. So you need the eyebrows and most of your facial features are a little bit inside of the edge of your face. Okay. So as you're drawing them, remember that you have a little bit of space on the side. And that's normally going to be determined by the edge of your eyebrows. So right now, we only have about 12 people sharing the stream, and that makes me really sad. So only 12 people are sharing the stream, Rod. It's like you're teaching them, but they don't want to help you out. Come on, guys, share the stream. Share to help Rod. So sharing the stream helps. Liking the stream helps. That's all you need to do. If you're learning anything, like, I just ask that you click a button. So I'll leave that up to you if you guys want to do it or not. Can you guys be bothered to press a button? Anyways, if you want to learn how to exaggerate these things, right, you need to first learn how they're placed, how they work. So in order to draw a person with like really high cheekbones, I would have to draw somebody with really high cheekbones. So where are my cheekbones? My cheekbones normally end up around here, right? For a normal person, I'm noticing that right here. So if I want higher cheekbones, I'm going to bring that object higher. And that's going to make me have really high cheekbones. Okay? So understanding is the key to exaggeration. So if you have saggy cheekbones, you would need someone with saggy cheekbones so that you can draw them saggy. And that comes into play with the same concept. You just make that part of the actual body a little bit more pronounced, right? So understanding where your elements fall and how to simplify them is what allows you to draw the really cool caricatures that like people like to draw, right? Like things that have like ridiculous proportions and really cool angles, right? Like super exaggerated features. Like I've done this for 15 years. I used to teach people how to do caricatures at theme parks. So, like having to learn how to do it is a process that I'm quite familiar with. So when I tell you it's all about understanding the placement of your anatomical body parts, like I can trace my skeletal system right now real fast so that I can know where my teeth are going to go, for example, right? If this is going to be my jaw, then my teeth have to go here. So now I just need a mouth that goes around these elements. So I can make the mouth do anything I want, wrapping around it, and I already know where my teeth are going to fall. Right? So I'm seeing through my shapes and I'm following my knowledge of anatomy to be able to map out all these elements that are normally hard, but they become a lot less hard once you understand where they fall. Right? Once you understand where they go, everything else just becomes a matter of stylizing it. You get to choose what type of style you get to put on it once you understand how it works. So that's essentially how you learn how to do caricatures. You learn anatomy to a crazy extent. You learn how to simplify them. And then you go in and then you use that anatomy knowledge in a simplified manner to be able to draw super weird, awesome, crazy stuff. Like if you understand the shapes you're drawing, then it's easier to exaggerate them. Okay? You don't have to be a master at it. You can always work up and do it progressively. And start with just doing like a little mask. That's what I like to do too. Like a mask gives me all my elements for my face, my temples, my cheekbones, my nose place, and then everything else can just be stylized. And the shapes can be endless. You don't have to stay to a certain shape for nose or mouth. Just gotta remember that they just connect to those same spots again. Your cheekbones are right there. And this can be used to create a variety of characters that are going to be solidly created with basic elements in mind. These tips are changing my life, I swear. Well, they changed mine, so, that's why I like to share them with you guys. So when we're drawing a profile, right, this is something super hard for people. Like, Like, people don't know how to measure and how to like put their elements in their face. So how about I just teach you guys the basic, stupidest, easiest trick that you guys will ever know when it comes down to placement, and you will never have an issue drawing a good face again. How about that? But before we do that, I'm going to take a little sip of water, and I want you guys to please like and share the stream, because I still want to get to that 200,000, but it might take a little longer, but hey, I still want to get there. And you guys can help me get there with subscribing and going to my YouTube channel too, and like liking my shit there. Ew. Oh, wow, hold on. Not poker stars.
To the big game as we take a look at the Loose Cannon Profit Leaderboard.
Yeah, not that, please. Not right now. I've been watching the World Series of Poker and like big poker games and stuff like that lately. I don't know why. I don't even play poker. I don't even play poker. I just enjoy the people bickering. Ooh. And like my previous stream, I want to show off my Grabby watercolor kit set that they sent me. Oh yeah. So if you guys feel like actually buying something that's pretty, especially these pastel colors, oh my god, these are beautiful. But anyways, if you guys feel like it, these are the watercolors that are in my store, in my bio, because they sent me some free ones just so I can test them out. And, you know, I like them. So, hey. Okay, so let's talk about faces. Let's talk about faces. We'll accent things as we go. Whatever. Let's see. The trick to faces. Well, whenever we're drawing our faces, right, we're always like wondering about a couple angles on this face as is. Like, we never know if to draw this completely straight, if to draw this with a point, to draw this with like a little V, or what angles, what the hell are we drawing? Like, what are we drawing? Come on, Rod, explain to us, what are we drawing? Well, it's simple to think about it. If you're thinking like anime, you're going to think that it's just like a little divot, right? You're going to think that it's like just a little point that goes out. Yes, this is your nose, and that tends to be like this because animation purposes, it's easier to animate a mouth being inside of here, right, than it is adding like an actual lip and moving this entire part, because animation is meant to be easily reproduced. So a lot of the times, anime characters have a slightly wider jaw section because they need that space to be able to animate the mouth easier. But that's not necessarily, don't learn like that. Learn what you have in your body, and then base your details based on that. So let's walk through the process of drawing a person's head. So in this case, I'm going to try to find a couple elements at first. Let's not even start with this. We'll just start. We're going to start with a circle. Okay. The first thing that I want to do in my circle is to identify the middle of my circle. So by drawing a circle inside of my circle, I start giving myself some depth. This is going to provide me the front of my face, and this is going to provide me the back of my shape, giving me a good guideline as to where the sides is as well, right? So if I have that, perfect. Now, from there, I like to start with the nose. I like to start with this little point right here, because it's a nice little triangle in the middle of my initial shape. So that's going to be my anchor point to a lot of other things. I like to draw that at the bottom of this shape. I'm only drawing up until this part. I'm not drawing the jaw. I'm not drawing the ears, or I'm not drawing the back of the head. I'm only focusing on the front part of the face, right? This is not the entirety of the size of my head. It's going to be relatively close to the proportions I need for the front of my face, but it's not going to include whatever spacing I need for the back of my skeleton. This is literally just a mapping point for me to start my drawing off with correct proportions. It does not indicate the actual ending size of my drawing. Like, this could be like a hulking creature and it would be gigantic, right? It could be something huge on top of this element. I just need this basic proportions because I'm comfortable with this. I can start with this and I can draw any variation of this. So this, if this was going to be a normal person, maybe the face would end up like this, right? If a person would be like, I don't know, even a monster or something like that, maybe it would be a little bit different. I would start with the same similar shapes, but then the actual outside of the head would maybe merge with the neck, create like a completely set of different variations of shape, right? The neck would connect in a different place. You would have maybe like even like bigger head shape, or you can have something nice and simple that you draw. The same concept applies, the same basic premise applies. We're just focusing on the actual like premise of it. So it's nice and simple to understand. And then you guys can go in and add all your details depending on however the hell you guys want to illustrate these things. Right? Be it all like broody and even like super simple old school comic book stuff. So it's just a basic way to understand it. So now let's go back and actually explain what happens when you find that triangle. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to find the sphere. We're going to draw a circle inside of our circle to find that middle point and create a triangle for our nose. So from there, I'm going to decide how big of an eye do I want to make this character have. So if I make this little area big, you get big eyes because this is your eyebrow line. The line that you're going to draw next is going to be your eyebrow line. So I got to decide how big of an eye shape do I want to draw. I'm going to draw about halfway, and it's going to give me about these proportions. Nice big eyes, nice and expressive. And then at this point as well, I get to decide how much of my eyes are going to take up my front area of my face, creating a little mask of sorts for ourselves. Right? That is the next step, to come up with the eyebrow line. The eyebrow line will then tell you the side of your face. That's a decision that you get to choose. So if you choose your object to have this all the way over here, that just means that their eye area is going to be a lot bigger than a person that has a mask that is only up to here, right? The width of it is going to dictate the spacing that you're going to require for that element. So this person would have like maybe like really big eyes, and this person would have eyes that are a little bit closer in. So that is going to be the measure of why you dictate the side of your face. The edge of your mask indicates the edge of your eyebrow, which indicates your side of your face. So wherever the top of that mask ends is going to dictate where the side of your facial features are. So you have your mask. Your mask now indicates the side of your face. So now I know that this is the side of my face. So, side of face. Now, once you have the side of the face, you can start adding things like your nose bridge to connect your eyebrows. And then your nose comes in from here. And it can be any shaped nose you want as long as it connects back to the little triangle. It can sag, it can fold, it can be big, it could be bulbous, it could be whatever you want. Right? It just has to go back into this little hole. Once you understand that, that opens up a lot of possibilities already, right? Like the amount of play that you can have with something like this is gigantic. Just understanding where those mapping points work, combined with a little bit of perspective, is going to give you really cool characters. Now let's talk about the bottom part of the face. The bottom part of the face is essentially your jaw. So your jaw is going to happen in a very easy way. Oh, by the way, whichever connection you make for your nose bridge, let's say that you make like your nose bridge cut in and then go back out like this, right? Whatever angle you have here, you have to match that here. So whatever angle is here, you have to match that outside as well. And guess what? This cheekbone needs to be matched up here. So this cheekbone angle matches this one because that's the same part of the bone on the other side. Then it goes up to your nose canal, cheekbone, and into the other side. Okay? So this little indication for your nose bridge is going to be matched on the side. So as you're drawing 3/4 view faces, whatever nose bridge you give, just give that to the side as well. And you're going to have your 3/4 views. Whatever enhancement you make to the nose bridge, so let's say you make a super steep nose bridge, well, that's going to be a super steep line over here as well. Okay? So that is essentially how you tackle that side of the face. All right, do me a favor. I'm going to take another sip of water while you guys process these and practice doing a couple of these guys. Draw a circle inside of a circle, split it in half, and draw a mask. Then come up with a nose bridge and match that line on the side, creating this little beanbag shape that's giving you like a nice little curvature too, right? At this point, you're getting a bunch of depth to add to your shape. So all these things are leading into like this cup that happens in your face. So while I do that, hit that heart button, hit that little share button. Let's get that up, and I'm going to take a slight sip of water. It's been a good day today. How about you guys? Have you guys had a nice day? How are you guys doing? Are you guys learning? If you guys are learning, please let me know you guys are learning in the chat. Draw Silver Foxy? I don't know who that is. Yes, definitely learning. Okay, so let's talk about the bottom part of the jaw and how to start doing some examples of these things. So once you have your shape, right? Once you have your initial shape, and you have your mask, and you're happy with you placed everything in the right place, and you're like, yay, I have my nose. But Rod, now I want to draw a mouth. How do I draw a mouth? Well, a mouth is going to be really easy. Once you have your mask, for your bottom jaw, what I recommend is you take this triangle shape you did for your nose and just follow that into a little teardrop. Follow that line into a teardrop and give yourself a chin. Now, doing this is going to replicate the muscles that go around your mouth and give you that roundness that you need for your mouth. Again, kind of doing the same thing that we did with the sphere for the eyes and for the jaw. We're only tracing hemispheres over a sphere, connecting 2 points, one from each side, and then adding negative space to create a mouth. Now, you're only doing that now to a teardrop shape instead of a spherical shape. So that is literally the only difference that's happening. So instead of drawing it on a sphere, you're drawing it on a teardrop because it's right there. And that applies to people with lips or people without lips. Right. So that is essentially the way that you are able to draw mouths a little bit better. Now, and then you connect that to your cheekbones, and then you give yourself your jaw. Let's try more. Mask, nose bridge matched on the side, teardrop from the middle of my face. I choose 2 points. I'm going to choose this point here and this point over here. I'm going to connect them like a rubber band, top and bottom. Then I'm going to overlap my top line a little bit so it has a little bit of depth, and then just connect the lines. And give myself my nose, my chin, connect my cheekbone to my chin, and give myself my jaw. Boom, cool. So there's a bunch of different ways that you guys can approach drawing faces. This is one of them. I like this way because it just puts everything in a certain spot. And little by little, by just visualizing a basic thing like a triangle in a mask, I can start coming up with some very cool variations of faces. I know that my nose just has to go back to that space. So anything that I draw that looks like a shape that goes back into that area is going to look like a nose. My mouth is going to be 2 dots connected within this space in kind of like a rubber band shape. So it can be any shape I want, connected like a rubber band, overlap the top line a little bit, and create negative space. And now you have a cool mouth. Didn't really take much. Then your eyebrows are the top line of your mask. They wrap around. The nose bridge line right here is going to be matched for my cheek on the side and on this side as well. And then from the edge of my cheekbones to my chin, we connect it with a line. Ba-ba. Our eyes create, and then the edge of our eyebrows gives us the side of our face, and at that point I get to decide how wide I want the back of our head. Like I said, that initial shape that we drew is just a guideline to help us start mapping it out. It does not dictate exactly where the face is going to end. That is just to guide you to start your drawing in a controlled way. It's not there to dictate everything you do for the rest of the drawing. That is a mistake that so many people make. I don't know why they make it either. Like, it honestly makes no sense that people would just continue drawing on a guide that doesn't look right. Like, it just does not make sense. But people do. And so that's why I try to tell you guys not to do it. So, yeah. Would you recommend? You should. I would recommend you guys buy my art. If you guys want to learn how to draw like this, and you guys just can't visualize it, get the art block book that I have ready. Right? Get the art block book that I have. It comprises of all these sorts of drawings. It's literally an entire 100-page book of just drawings like this. Right? So, and then just draw over them. Draw over my drawings. Go like this. Trace my drawings until it actually starts making sense. I have enough exercises that you guys can just go in and trace over these lines and just get better at doing things like this, right? Just get better at doing exercises like this. This is the key to absolutely everything that I draw. It's just being able to draw with volume and understanding the mapping points for each side. Like, let's say I wanted to map out just the right side of my drawing. Right? If I wanted to map out the other side, I could just go and map those points out on my drawing and then connect those two. So I'm seeing a wireframe whenever I'm drawing these things. So let me go back and like show you guys a couple like drawings that I've done in the past and then show you guys how that applies as well. Let's just find some. I have realized there you go. There's some animal ones. Let's do here. So when I'm seeing a drawing like this, right? When I'm looking even like a little penguin like this, when I'm seeing this, I'm seeing a bunch of elements. I try to map out everything based in a single line that I see. And then the rest of the drawing is just a basic beanbag to me. Right? Everything is mapped out like a three-dimensional shape. If we move on to, I was talking about this already. So when I'm looking at like Mr. Gopher right here, to me, I'm looking at cones and cylinders that are merging together. Right? That is what I'm looking at whenever I'm drawing an element like this. So whenever I'm mapping out a character, I'm looking at which way their legs are positioned, which way is going to give me the perspective that I need. And then I start just mapping mentally how these elements would work. Now, I have enough experience that I don't need to draw the lines anymore, right? I don't have to do this absolutely every time. Sometimes when it's a hard position to find out, I do. I still do this quite often. But it's just a matter of understanding how these little basic elements work. Like this guy is just a little like mouse. It's like a mouse pad, right? That's all he was. So I can draw a mouse pad relatively easy and then just give him little leggies. So that was literally the only thing that was hard about this guy, was just figuring out how to draw like the textures on him. But as you guys can see, the actual shape itself is not hard to draw, right? It's just understanding the visual aspects of your shapes, of the things that you're drawing, and learning how to break it down into a simple shape is. So a flamingo is a complicated shape because it's like a big tube, right? And then it goes into a big fluff ball that has wings. But the wings in themselves have their own depth in each one of them. So each one of those wings has a little bit of depth. And then I have to replicate texture as well. So going to the zoo and drawing is incredibly challenging, but incredibly fun. Because you get to learn a lot about how like just basic like animal movements work. Right? So that is something that I recommend if you guys want to learn how to do perspective. Like you guys need to visualize things and this is just a circle getting mapped out in the distance and then tracing the edges. Right? That is all these are. It's just different sizes. And then finding where these guidelines map out my eye shapes and stuff. So understanding that, and then if I need to make the character wider, I just make those shapes wider. But that is the basic premise about how to draw elements like this. Right? That is how you go about drawing cool things in nature, like trees and, like plants and stuff like that. Like it's just about understanding that whatever shape you draw has perspective. And most of the detail that happens is from those perspective points. Right? As long as you draw them going in the right direction, showing from the right camera angle, it's going to look great. because nature is so, like, there's such a variety of things in nature. Like, there's everything has its own little perspective point, probably, like, pretty close to it. So it doesn't matter if a plant is coming this way or if a plant is folding completely the other way and like folding upside down, right? Like, they're not necessarily going to be pointing the right direction, the same direction, but you know, as long as you understand how to make the shape look like it has depth, then it's just easier. So let's scroll back. Let's find something different to draw over. Yeah. So let's say that we have like something like these characters right there, right? So this guy, if I wanted to replicate this and find out how the pose is working, I would try to find elements that are already giving me the perspective lines and then try to follow that perspective guideline of my character and see where that ends up. These arms are going down, so the perspective is going down. This is going up, so the character is going up. My face is rotating this way, so I know that one ear is here, but the other one must be over here on this side because I can draw through my shape to figure that out. Same thing with my jaw. I can draw through my jaw to figure out the little angles that are normally hard. So that exercise is absolutely necessary, and it helps you with cartoons, it helps you with comics, it helps you with simplifying, it helps you with incredibly simple stuff like little bunnies and like chibi characters and stuff like that, right? Like, don't overestimate the importance of being able to do that, because it's going to help you with everything. It's going to help you with absolutely everything, from like drawing like cute hot girls to drawing like superheroes to drawing animals. You know, it's going to allow you a lot of creativity and a lot of openness whenever you start applying that to like body parts and stuff like that. It's going to increase your drawing like tenfold. But I did promise you guys, see, dinosaurs, dinosaurs, I need to draw dinosaurs, yeah. Okay, so let's draw some heads. I promised you guys heads. I'm going to promise you guys the easiest way to draw heads, and I'm going to do a couple examples of the 3x3 grid method. Grade method. So the 3x3 grid method is just a simple way to take any shape, divide it into a tic-tac-toe, and understanding the placement of your elements by mapping them out in this fashion. By doing so, you give yourself an understanding of where things are supposed to fall. And if you have an issue drawing the eyes too big, too small, too like little, too close to the front, too close to the back, this tends to help you understand that a little bit better. So if you guys want me to explain this process that I did right now in like 2 seconds, if you guys want me to explain this process, please hit the heart button. Let me know that you guys want to do this. Otherwise, I will not do it, and I will just move on to something else. I don't see enough hearts. Oh yeah, I'm holding you guys knowledge hostage. I'm making you guys bribe me. Hey, stop it, wind. The wind is furious. All right, I think you guys earned it. So, whenever you're drawing a shape and you want to apply this rule, what you want to do is you want to just split it into a tic-tac-toe, and I'm going to explain to you guys what each part is going to mean. This middle part right here that we're going to draw first, this one's going to be our feature zone. What is the feature zone, Mr. Rod? Well, the feature zone is essentially what we did with our mask, right? Our feature zone is going to be our nose canal, into our cheekbones, into our brow muscles. That's essentially what that little square is. That's our mask area. Now, remember we have our nose canal that's like a little triangle. And then from that little triangle, our nose is going to come out. It just has to connect back to that little hole. It can go in any way you want. Like, it doesn't have to be that little, that you can make the nose gigantic as long as you have it come back into that hole. Okay? It always goes back into that little sideways line, and we draw a sideways line because our skull has this sort of shape. Okay? So our skull has this sort of curvature to that little part of the actual nose canal. So I like to replicate it by just creating a slanted line at the front part of my grid. Now, what is the rest of the mask? The rest of the mask is representing essentially this part of the face. Okay? You're going to have your eyebrows at the top. This edge right here should be roughly where your edge of your eyebrows is, which is going to indicate the side of the face. This right here where it connects, you're going to have your eye, it's going to have this little divot right here. That little change in direction happens from a little ledge of bone from your nose canal into your nose, and that direction change that happens into your forehead and your brows. So this is essentially the upper part of your nose bridge. This happens and creates a little V. This normally gets matched on the side, but for now you don't have to really worry about that. Your eyes are going to be profile eyes in this case, so you're going to still draw your eyeball, your entire eyeball, right? But your entire eyeball is only going to be seen by about half of your eye. Only half your eye is really like, whenever you're drawing an eyeball, you're only really seeing a tiny fraction of it, right? You're only seeing a very small amount of the actual eye. The eyeball in itself is a relatively big thing, and as long as you can open it completely open, right? Or you can close it, and it normally goes 80% top lid, 20% bottom lid. And as you go and you rotate and you open them and you close them, essentially they go up and down in this little hemisphere motion. So it's only about halfway though. You only see about halfway in a profile. So you take your eyeball, you draw through it with your circle in a circle technique, and then you choose what hemispheres, by connecting them going around, you want for your eyes. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to take half of our eyeball, choose 2 points, and we're going to connect them by going around and creating our shape for our eye. And do the same thing over here. Okay, so that is how you draw eyes looking proper, like going around your shape. Now, if the eye is angled or something, you take your eye, you just angle, find the both sides you need to find, and then you angle those, like the next line. Like you take this, yeah, you just angle them, and then you still connect them. You still have all those little details and stuff. And the same thing happens with eyes that are like droopy and stuff like that. But the trick to it is just connecting 2 lines going around the circle. And then at that point, you can draw eyes looking in any direction you want. Just saying, that is the easiest way to draw eyes. You guys can apply it, you guys cannot apply it, but it's literally like a lifesaver. And it's just so easy. Anyways, let's move on to the next part. So once you have all your shapes within this grid, so we're going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So all these sections are going to be split into thirds. So let's go on to a next step, which is going to be just, again, drawing tic-tac-toe, creating our mask, creating our eyebrows, eyes, nose, and we have all our details right there, okay? Now that looks off. There you go. So the next step is to understand where our eyebrows go. Oh, not eyebrows, our ear. So the back of our ear normally goes closer to the back end of our head. So it has to be around this area in general. Like, it's gonna look off if all your features are really small, right? If you drew all your features really small in the front, the spacing, if you space it really far back, it's gonna look off because you're gonna have more space in between here, right? The ideal connection point would be your eyes or the edge of your cheekbones right here, and then a little bit of space, and then your ear. This space is to incorporate the width of your cheekbone and the bottom part of your jaw. That is what you have to fit within this space. Okay? That is what you remember that you have to have there. If you don't have space there for that, you end up with very weird situations where your eye is really close to your ear, and you end up with situations where things look awkward. Right? Because you don't have space for your cheekbones, you don't have space for your temples or anything. It's too close. So you end up with something looking very stylized and maybe not quite what you were looking for. As opposed to a person that understands that that spacing is supposed to be there by using these little rules. And you end up with that same drawing with nice big eyes as well, just proportioned a little bit better because you took that little rule into consideration. So it's something that you guys can consider as you're drawing your things. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. What about the lips? Well, when you're going into the mouths, again, all you need to do is connect one dot from this side to another dot on the other side. Connect them top, bottom, and then just trace whatever mouth shape you want. The mouths are just as easy as the eyes. The mouth, in general, on a character, right? The mouth on a character is essentially a third eye. So it's an opening with an overlapping line. So if you're drawing a mouth, you can just draw another eye, doing the same technique, going around your shape, and it's gonna end up looking like a mouth. An eye and a mouth are very similar in the way that they function. An eye goes around, right? Your upper eyelid is a hemisphere going up and down. Your lower eyelid is a hemisphere going up and down. But no, I'm not drawing an eye, I'm drawing a mouth. It's the same thing. So if you understand how to draw an eye, now you know how to draw a mouth too. So if you need to draw an open mouth, do the same thing you do for an open eye. Just open your eyelids, right? But instead of a mouth, draw lips. And now you have an open mouth. People overcomplicate this so much. Like, people think that it's actually really hard, but it really isn't. It's just really weird how people get taught. Like, a mouth is as easy as connecting two dots with a line. Any line. Draw a line, connect two dots, and overlap the top line. Right? Take two dots, connect them, and then overlap the top line. That's a mouth. Just add negative space. You need this mouth with lips? Cool. It's a little bit more hard, but it's not hard at all. You take two dots, connect them in any lines you want, overlap the top two to create this little overlap, and then from this flat angle you drew, come up with your top lip that connects back to that dot, and then your bottom lip is going to come in inside your shape. Not outside your shape, inside your shape. And then give it some depth. You have lips. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Two dots connected are really easy. Draw your lips shape outside, and the lips easily fit inside. Create your depth. You got your lips. Draw your pinups and do the rest. Yay. Two dots. Any line. Overlap the top line. Give it lips. And it works. It looks good. And that could go like a lady making like a little Fuchi face, like a Karen or something. Like, ew. So, ta-da! You guys are now able to draw eyes and mouths the same way, because that's the same thing for eyes. Like, draw two dots, draw two shapes connecting each other, overlap the top line, give it like some eyelashes, and then you have an eye. Like, it's the same concept, exactly the same. So now you can draw eyes going in any direction you want, and you guys will be able to draw a bunch of different eyes now, just because you can connect two dots. Like, it is that easy. It's that easy, and the more you understand about like anatomy and perspective, like, you'll start seeing how to enhance these things, right? But it's two dots, connect the dots, top and bottom, overlap the top line to create the depth that you need for your mouth shape. And then, oh wait, no, I want this to be an eye. Cool. I want this to be like a cool, crazy anime eye. Ah, yeah, I tricked you guys. It wasn't a mouth. It was an eye. See, it's the same concept. So don't overcomplicate it. Learn how to draw one and then apply that same knowledge to the other. Learn how to draw one by drawing these lines connected to each other, and then the same concept applies when you try to draw the mouth. Right? Same approach. So as you understand that a lot of similarities are going to happen with your whole system of your body, you're going to start seeing a lot of more simplicity in the way that you view things. And it's going to lead to a very, ooh, that clicks moment. Ooh, that clicks moment. Because that same concept, right, of drawing your circle inside your circle and finding the two sides, connecting them. Now, well, that can be applied also for your facial features, for like drawing things in perspective and stuff. You can do that to your mask. And now all of a sudden you can draw faces in a bunch of different cool perspectives. Just because you're able to map out that little section for yourself. So it's just, once you practice this like way of thinking, it's just really cool. Now I know where my ear is, so I know where my neck is going to come from. And if you practice that even more, you're going to be able to draw your bodies, muscle structures, arms, stuff like that a lot better, because you'll be able to see through your shapes. And therefore be able to come up with really cool poses and stuff like that. I don't know. But it's just a way that you guys can start visualizing things a little bit better for your faces, especially to find your ears, so you can find your jaw a little bit easier. That is the biggest factor that helps. Like understanding how this connection point goes around your head into your other side, so you guys can understand how your neck works. Like, that's such an important aspect, and it's so much easier by just splitting a circle with a circle. So I want you guys to go and practice these exercises. If you guys want to challenge yourself, please just draw circles and circles and draw features on opposite sides so you guys get an idea of how to see through your shapes. Practice doing this over and over if you guys want to get a better understanding of perspective. And once you guys are able to master the ability to rotate a simple face in space by mapping out 2 eyes and a mouth, progress and see how far you can take it with your knowledge of anatomy and perspective. And, you know, show me. Like, I would love to see you guys, like, you know, message me and tag me in your stuff. Like, I love seeing how you guys apply what I teach you. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And as always, at the end of our streams, we leave you guys with a couple little nice messages. I want you guys to go out and live a little, or love a little, live a little, laugh a little, and draw a lot. Have a wonderful day, everybody.